The next speaker we have on board today is a guest arrival, and I extend my apologies for the rest of the guests because Paul Barrister, Member of Parliament, is among us. He is a politician, Member of Parliament since 2019. He graduated from University of Newcastle. Thanks to Google, I just pinned up everything quickly. Hope I'm not making any mistakes here. So, Paul, I invite you to take on lectern and shed some light on human rights. And I appreciate you came all the way to give us your precious time. Over to Paul.
Thank you very much. Before I start, let me just say how underqualified I feel to talk to you about this. You've got people like our last speaker who's studied for many years and is an expert in this subject. I'm just a politician. And so I don't feel I have the same ability to talk, at least in expertise, as some of our other speakers. But I'm just going to tell you a little bit about myself and why human rights to me are indivisible and why I will always campaign and speak out on human rights. I became the Member of Parliament for my home city in Peterborough, as the gentleman who introduced me said, in 2019 at the last general election. Now, I became the MP for my home city, and I felt that I knew Peterborough better than anybody. I felt Peterborough was somewhere I grew up. Peterborough was something I was very familiar with, and I knew that city. Turns out I didn't really know that city at all, because you only really know what you know. You only know the people the people you work with. You know the people you went to school with. You know the things you like to do, the football or the sport or the recreation you like to talk about. But in fact, Peterborough is what I call a mini UN. I've got people from all around the world living in my city. And I've got to know the city a hell of a lot better since becoming the Member of Parliament and speaking to people from different countries and different backgrounds, different ethnicities, different religions, different shapes and sizes, and even speaking different languages. But one thing that did hit me was that although we're very, very different and we've got different life experiences, that we are one city. We all came together as one city. But what this job did, it introduced me to a whole range of meeting people from a whole range of different backgrounds. So what weren't necessarily born in this country, but different life experiences, and who came to Britain to flee sometimes, rape, murder, torture, and a fear from their lives. And they began to educate me and talk to me about human rights. Living in this country, we're all very lucky. We've got homes, most of us. We've got a roof over our head. We've got enough food to eat, and we've got the right to go to school if you're a child, or to work if that's what you choose, or a right to believe what you want to believe. And that's what's one of the great things about this country. But not everybody has that luxury, and far too many communities across the world are still suffering as a result of human rights abuses, whether that be in Palestine, whether that be in Kashmir, whether that be in China with the Uyghur Muslims, be that in Myanmar, where millions of people are facing persecution. So the question comes to me that although we're very lucky in this country, there are many people who've had that life experience, and it falls upon me as a Member of Parliament, somebody who represents everyone in my city, to speak without freedom and to speak without fear and talk about human rights. Now, one of the reasons I wasn't with you here this morning was because I was talking at Foreign and Commonwealth Questions today, and I spoke about Palestine and the suffering, the fact that dozens of children have already been murdered in 2023 and killed by the Israeli military. And that's unacceptable. And unfortunately, quite too often, we're complicit in not speaking out about this enough. And I feel it is my duty as a Member of Parliament to do that. This afternoon, I'll be speaking at a conference about Kashmir. And again, I will be talking about human rights and making sure the voice of my constituents are represented. I also had the privilege, I guess, to go to Bangladesh, to go to Cox's Bazar, and to see people in refugee camps, the largest refugee camp in the world, most recently struck by fire. But the Myanmar government persecute the Rohingya people, and that's why they're in Bangladesh and still suffering now, but at least they're safe. They've got roofs over their heads, but they're not in particularly good conditions because they have to flee their homeland to flee human rights abuses. And again, Does the world speak out as much as they should do? Probably not. Britain gives aid. Britain gives support. We're the biggest individual donator of aid in Bangladesh, other than the Bangladeshis themselves. But is that enough? And I don't think it should fall upon people like me. See, I'm a Conservative MP. It shouldn't matter what political party you are. But I represent a multi-ethnic, multi-faith city. But it shouldn't just be for me, because of the people that I know, the people that I've met, to talk about this. I think if you're a member of Parliament, even if you don't have that same life experience of the people that I represent, you should be talking about human rights. Because if you care about human rights, you talk about what happened in 1948 with Human Rights Day. That was 3 years ago? 78 years, 73, 78 years ago. That's a long time. But if you care about human rights, then you care about Palestine, you care about the Uyghur Muslims, you care about Kashmir, you care about Myanmar, you care about all of these places. And they're not a million miles away. They're here in this country. They're your neighbours, your co-workers, people you go to school with, your friends. These are people who've suffered human rights abuses. And I think we've all got a right to talk about that. That's all I really wanted to say, and just let you know that as a Member of Parliament, you will never find me shy or wanting to talk about human rights, and I'll always be here to give a support to the causes that you champion. Thank you very much indeed.